All right, so let's go ahead and get on with another nightly episode. So more developments at the U.S.-Mexico border. Biggest thing that I would really want to get to is the fact that this conflict between Greg Abbott of Texas and Joe Biden is escalating. So, this article from Ted Cruz, not really what I want to talk about, but it's significant. He's a Texas senator. He's basically upset at the justices for the decision that they made. We'll get into a little bit about this. He said that the ruling was deeply disturbing. On Wednesday episode of his podcast Verdict with Ted Cruz, he said he's angry about it. He claims that 9.6 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border under Joe Biden. That is probably fairly accurate in terms of like how many. I really would prefer to get on with like the more significant thing with what Greg Abbott's done recently. So number one, he said that he put out this tweet basically saying that half of Americans are on his side, which means that mostly like half of the states are on his side. Like we got a long list of signatories or of governors from the Republican Governor Association, basically that are on his side right here. I think this is fairly significant and fairly concerning. I don't know. Some people seem to be saying that this will all boil over, that it's a big nothing burger, that eventually Greg Abbott and Joe Biden will, by some means, come to an agreement behind scenes that they're both these guys are kind of crooked and are just they just really want what's best for them, and so they're going to try and drive up donation pledges. And maybe that's the case, but I feel like that's putting an awful lot of eggs into one basket. I'm personally someone that's still draftable. I am concerned that this doesn't end with some sort of peaceful resolution, and even if it does, like this raises the temperatures significantly in terms of like the public conversation. It's only going to build momentum into 2024, and it's only going to make people more upset. And the next time that we have a crisis like this, if there is a next time, people are going to be much more willing to say, let's get on with it because, well, their nerves are already raw and they're all upset. So, next article I want to get to, Donald Trump's weighing in on this. He's calling for states that are willing to deploy National Guard to Texas and to start deportations. Basically, he wants to start pushing these guys back into Mexico. I think. Yeah. So, former President Donald Trump posted to his Truth Social account that he is encouraging all willing states to deploy their National Guard to Texas illegal to prevent to entry. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to say the entry of illegal immigrants. Trump made the call to do so after Texas Governor Greg Abbott declared an invasion and invoked Texas's right to self-defense. In the first article of the Constitution, at least 14 states have signaled supporting Texas in its efforts. We already have the list of governors of the states that are supporting Texas. In the post, Trump touted his record on immigration. Of course, he did. I have a word, I'm sure that's supposed to say work hand in hand with Governor Greg Abbott and other border states to stop the invasion, seal the border, and rapidly begin the largest domestic deportation operation in history. But we'll see if he ever accomplishes that if he gets into office. Certainly be nice if that sanity could be restored and 9.6 million, well, more than 9.6, all the illegal immigrants just get deported. They should be. They're here illegally. They should not be here. That's the end of it. But he's apparently calling on states to start sending them back to Mexico. Let's find a better article. Trump says that should deport immigrants. There we go. The Hill. Typically pretty good for information, but establishment bias it normally. In the face of public national security, public health catastrophe, Texas invoked the invasion clause of the Constitution unless be given full support. Let's see. Abbott justifies his decision. Have Abbott backed. Whatever. The other important thing that I wanted to get to that I should have pulled up earlier, but that will pull up now is Texas gives razor wire to ranchers. And so this is a significant development where essentially, Texas escalates feud with federal government. And while the framing on this is not exactly great at points, essentially Texas is going to ranchers and offering them razor wire to be installed in their property to keep the illegal immigrants out. Now, this is not perfect. You can get around or over razor wire if you're determined enough. You can cut your way through it. But this is another way. So if you put it on private property, that probably makes it harder for Border Patrol to get access to it. And it's like, better than nothing. Still insufficient. But again, it's raising the temperature. Where basically the Supreme Court ruled that yes, in the meantime, before they rule, Border Patrol can take down the razor wire. But Texas is basically saying, we don't care. We'll just put up so much that you'll never have a chance of taking it all down. You're going to have to go to all these private properties, all these private ranches, and then try to take it down, which is going to be a giant nightmare. And while it is a step in the right direction, to be quite honest, Texas needs to start I mean, if Texas starts deporting illegal immigrants, that would be essentially breaking the law because that's a federal matter. You're essentially engaging with outside entities, as in states are dealing with other governments. That's not supposed to be happening. But we're also in a situation where the federal government is supposed to be doing their job and they're deliberately not doing it so that they can hurt Texas and other red states, which is the reality of the situation. Let's see. We don't need that source. Don't need that. Well, that's about the gist of it that I want to bring up. I suppose I want to end on this map again. This is the map that we had back in June of 2021 showing how people feel about their region of the United States seceding from the Union. I think this is important to return to because this was June of 2021 and we are now in January of 2024. Like we have gone quite a ways from that. Like this was released like just a few months after the 2020 election, or just a few months after Joe Biden got inaugurated and brought into office. And you see this massive chunk down here in the region called the South, where 66% of Republicans are like, yeah, we're fine with our whole region just breaking away from the Union. Now, I don't think that the lines we've drawn this accurately. I think a lot of more red states would try to join with the South because if they remain in the Union by themselves, they're stuck. Like they'll never be able to win a presidential election ever again because they'll just be all the Democrat states left to essentially run things. But we also have 50% of independents also okay with secession. 20% of Democrats. I'm not sure why there are any Democrats that would want to secede because they would not be getting their way in that situation. But I'm sure they have their reasons. Independents, maybe they are more right wing and they agree with the Republicans. I don't know. Very interesting stuff. But that's essentially what we're looking at. And right now in Texas, we have coming up on the ballot or for the primary the question of should the state secede from the Union? I imagine you're going to see a massive spike in those numbers with that question being on there. Like it's on there frequently. It's frequently on there. This time around, I think you're going to see a massive jump in the amount of people that say yes. And once Texas steps out, who follows? Like, I don't think this is just going to be a limited thing where you're just going to have one state that does it. Because we've already seen we have a giant list of states that have chosen to back up Texas on this, or at least they're claiming to. And they're trying to show public solidarity. Privately, I don't know how these governors feel. But their public face says, hey, we're with Texas on this. So, combine all this information, what do you get? We have the makings of a very dangerous constitutional crisis going on where the Union could devolve into factional violence. And that is not something that I desire. Ideally, what I would have is I would have sanity restored to the federal government. I would have our borders enforced and just end this. Joe Biden won't do that. So that means you have to survive until 2024, get Trump in, get him inaugurated, and get his people in office so that he can start getting the work done. The problem, though, is that you're looking at about a year before that can happen because we got to go through the election. We have all these shenanigans that have been thrown all over the place, all these court cases, all these attempts to knock him off the ballot. Nikki Haley's still running, and she's getting Democrats to vote for her in the primaries, which is a desperate attempt to make him lose the GOP primary. It might work, but there's a slim chance, but still, they're trying. And then you have all the court cases that are going on against them, and then there's the entire election stuff that's also happening. So, suffice to say, as someone who's still draftable, I am quite concerned about all this. I want a peaceful resolution where sanity is restored. As a Christian, I don't want violence. But sometimes it doesn't matter what you want. Sometimes it's coming whether you want it or not, and you need to start making choices about how you're going to protect yourself, and ultimately you got to make sure you're right with God about all these things. I don't know. That's about all I have for tonight. Thanks for listening. Consider liking and subscribing. Yeah, have a good night. Stay safe, and definitely pray on these issues, and definitely keep them in mind because we don't know where the future lies. Anyway, bye.